Hi everyone, I am Sriharsha from ArtBuRt's and welcome to yet another session of ArtBuyte. This is our daily, in this case, chat show where we introduce promising photographers who are partnered with the Olympus Impressions India group and exhibiting their photographs, beautiful photographs with us. And the discussion today is going to be around the exhibit that we currently have running on our ImageIn app that's available for free on all smart TVs and Android mobiles called ImageIn, where you can see these beautiful images. And today we are talking to Kushal Bhardwaj about the water aspect of another beautiful exhibit, Air and Water. So with that said, let me just quickly move or rather hand the mic over to Kushal. If you can just quickly introduce yourself and tell us what you do and why water photography, that will set the context right for us, and we can go into discussing specific images from your exhibit after you're done with that.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much, Harsha. Hi guys, my name is Kushal Bhardwaj from Ahmedabad, Gujarat. So I currently am associated with a logistics company as a director since 2010. So my brief background, I was working with TCS and AC Nielsen in Bangalore for about 2-3 years, and then I returned back to my hometown. So that's about me. I moved to Bangalore for my graduation and post-graduation. Spent about 10 years there, and so yeah, I got into photography in the year 2010, and so 2010. So at that time, I got a Nikon camera D90 and a very basic general lens, where I started clicking pictures of the surroundings, nature, just to get a hang of how photography works. And then I moved on. I started adding a certain lens to my collection, and so I added my wildlife lens as well. Then I got into scuba diving in 2013, and I've been diving from 8 years. For more than 2.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, so I started diving in 2013. It's been about 7, 8. This year is the 8th year, and so I've dived almost like more than 200 dives now across Southeast Asia. And scuba diving, it just came to me naturally. I love the water, and also my sun sign is a Pisces, so obviously
Okay.
a connection there. So in fact, I always wanted to do diving since about almost 15 years now, but never got the opportunity. And then I was just watching this National Geographic documentary, and it just pushed me. And this Bollywood movie, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara.
Right.
I saw that movie, and I was like, okay, now or never. I'll just pack my bags and go to Havelock in the Andaman Islands, and that's where I spent 10 days, and I did my basic plus advanced course there.
Right.
And there begins my journey.
Right. Thank you so much for that. You kind of stepped on to my next question with that introduction, which was going to be about what got you into underwater photography. Obviously, now I know the impressions Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara has on you and all the other National Geographic documentaries. This is one genre of photography I myself have not tried upon, apart from just diving in with a GoPro into swimming pools or sometimes into the beaches. But I seriously haven't tried this genre of photography myself.
You should.
So I always look, yeah, I know. But as you can always say, I And I have watched Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara a few times as well, but it just hasn't happened. But yeah, the one question that I wanted to ask is obviously, let me just start playing your images on the screen so that people can relate to your images. Sure. And while I said in the starting itself, this is a joint exhibit between Kushal and Venkat. And while this is the first part of those two discussions that we will have. Today, we are discussing underwater photography with Kushal. And day after tomorrow, we have Venkat, who will talk about his aerial photographs. Now, I'm sure you would have just had a quick glimpse of that. In case you want to have a look at the entire series of images, you can always download the ImageIn exhibit and see the ImageIn app and see the entire exhibit on your TVs or mobiles. Today we will review about, so while Kushal is discussing, we will play his images on the screen, which will be underwater images. So yes, coming back to this, Kushal, so for somebody who wants to pursue underwater photography, right? Like say, for example, me or anybody else who's got water in their lungs, how important is it for us to get an underwater diving certificate? Is it something that's really mandatory?
So I'll approach this question in how I have been taught. So there are two types of diving. One is discover how to dive, and just for fun sake, you go down for a dive, come up, end of a story, and you go back home a happy person. The second thing is actual core diving, which is you learn the way how you dive, and you learn the physics behind it, learn the science behind it, and basically you respect the creatures underwater. So in order to do that, and if you really wish to photograph the world underwater, I consider it people who go for just one or two dives, like just for the fun sake, they generally the agency generally has a GoPro, so they hand it over,
right,
and then you can just take a video of yourself. So it's not necessary for it's not mandatory to have a diving certification at that point of time. But for me, I will always suggest to get a diving certification. It is mandatory. Why? Because it helps you to learn and study the creatures underwater. It learns how to breathe, how to handle the equipment, how to handle yourself, how to calm yourself. And basically diving is just plain common sense. You need to just keep calm and breathe. That's the only thing required. And if you keep calm and breathe, everything will fall into place. So
right.
yeah, so it is mandatory. And if someone wants to become an underwater photographer, an advanced certification is highly necessary, because along with the advanced certification comes various it's like choosing subjects in college, that you choose particular topics like shipwreck diving, muck diving, or underwater photography, something like that. So that comes only with the advanced course. So yeah, so I would in fact make it a point that it is mandatory.
Right, right. So that puts us in a whatever sure way of understanding, I would say,
Yeah.
the local environment as well. I'm sure that would also cover what to touch, what not to touch, where to go, where not to go. This familiarity with the new alien landscape, if I can call it that, I think is also very important. Very important lesson that will be thought about in the driving classes, right?
Yes.
I've done these touristy snorkels, which I'm sure definitely you would not approve of.
No, actually, when you learn diving, or if you are pursuing a diving course, the first thing they teach you obviously is to go to the theory part of it, where they do a lot of videos, and you learn from the videos what is diving, what are the different institutes that teach diving across the world. The second lesson is snorkeling. So they take you into the sea or the swimming pool, wherever you are training, and then they put a mask and with a outlet for, like, it goes up like this, and that
Right.
it's in your mouth, and you breathe from that apparatus. And because you are exposed to unlimited air, so and you have fins on your feet, so snorkeling is, I would say, the first lesson in the waters for any for any diver.
Right. Right. I understand. So, in terms of the equipment that you carry in for underwater, what do you say is the best kind of a lens to have? Is it a wide angle game, or is it a macro game, or is it a give and take on both sides? What do you prefer as well?
It really depends on a diver's preference. So I have dived across Southeast Asia since about 7-8 years now. And over this course of 7-8 years, I have changed a total of 3 cameras. So my first point and shoot camera was a very basic one called Sea Life. It was, the company only makes cameras for underwater photography. It doesn't make anything. So it was a very, very basic camera, and it had very basic capabilities. So it had its own limitations. Once I overgrew it, I moved to Olympus. So what happens here is different dive sites require different lenses. Now,
Right.
so since you cannot change the lenses underwater for obvious reasons, uh, uh, um, in cases like, I would say, I have been to the Maldives, where everything is huge in size. Manta ray or sharks. Manta ray, the width of a manta ray is 10 meters.
Like this image that we are seeing right now on the screen.
Yeah, that's not a manta ray. That's a stingray.
Oh, okay. This is stingray, right? Now you know how unfamiliar I am with the aquatic wildlife.
So
yeah,
stingray, if you see in this picture, the tail goes up to, like, it's never ending. It goes up to almost 5.5, 6 feet. So, and it's quite sharp, and one whack can land a serious injury like this. So it's so obviously, so when we talk of Maldives, all the creatures are bigger in size. So obviously, you require a wide angle lens. Sorry.
Right.
So obviously, with the wide angle lens, the port which comes along with the to cover the lens, the port is also different. Macro lens, the port is again different. The port is which used to cover the lens when you are going underwater.
Right.
So this is Maldives, but places like the Philippines, where small creatures are very, very, are quite. Philippines is quite famous for smaller creatures, like like a pygmy seahorse. It's like half an inch.
Right.
So the macro obviously plays a very important role here. I have no such preference. That is, I love manta rays and a pygmy seahorse equally. So, but yes, the challenge is you can't change the camera lens underwater. So you have to focus on only one thing at a time.
Understand. Probably another option would be carrying multiple cameras, one with a wide angle and then one with a macro lens, but that will mean double the weightage, right?
Yes, and I have not seen anybody doing that.
Okay.
What I do is, if I'm taking a macro lens underwater, I also fix a GoPro on my rig. It's like a cold shoe adapter. It's on top of it. So, and if I miss, let's say I'm diving with a macro lens and I'm shooting a very small creature, and if some shark just passes by like this, I can't capture it in my macro lens, obviously. So I just shoot a video of it.
Got it.
So that I don't miss out on.
Got it.
A photo or a video.
That's nice technique. Yeah. And how do you say the aquatic creatures respond to humans underwater? Because obviously we are not native underwater. Do they showcase little or no fear as when compared to, say, on land? Have you felt anything of that nature?
Yeah. So how this works is, in our childhood, our parents used to, whenever we used to visit other people's homes, like, and we are visitors there. So the first thing our parents would, like, Indian parents that have a tendency of doing this is, don't touch this, don't touch that. It's not
Right.
our home. You have come to a visitor's home. You are a guest there. So exactly the same thing applies when you go underwater.
Hmm.
You are going to somebody's home. You're going to somebody's private place. You're going to a place where they eat food, where they mate, and they live a long life, and they have made their residence around. So you can't go and you can't just go and touch everything, or you are not allowed to touch the coral reefs. That absolutely bad diving. It
Right.
it took me almost about continuous 3.5 years, 3 years, I would say, to become absolute a stable diver. So, you be absolutely horizontal when you are
Okay.
diving.
Okay. Okay.
You can't be like vertical like this or something like that. So you need to be very focused on how your body posture is. It should be straight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And and you need to, so when I wear an equipment, it's called a buoyancy controller jacket. It comes with a zip. So that jacket also needs to be filled with air, or you keep deflating it depending on your proximity to the coral reef or the seabed, or
Right.
in general. So creatures underwater, yes, in some cases, the fish are quite, I would say they are terrified, but they are also curious. Case in example is the clownfish, which I think everybody will recognize it as Nemo,
Right.
the Hollywood movie Nemo, Finding Nemo. So that's the clownfish. Clownfish is quite curious in general, and I remember diving in Andamans, and I did not touch the clownfish at all. I just was trying to adjust my camera around it, and this clownfish, it suddenly came like this here. I have not even touched it. My hand is just here. I'm trying to adjust something. So when I started raising my hand like this, the clownfish also went up, up, up. So it is also curious. It's not going, I'm not going to touch it. It's not going to come and touch me or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
fact is that you need to respect the creatures underwater. It's quite simple. If you see a shark, and if you honestly go behind it, touch its tail and all, yeah, you are in for a good lot of a good shock.
Hmm.
So yeah, so we maintain our distance, and yes, certain creatures are quite welcoming, like turtles. I had once a turtle come and sit next to me, and like just keep seeing my mask and my regulator, and just observing what I was doing. So I spent nearly about 5 to 6 minutes with it. So yes, some creatures are like this. Some are quite terrified, and uh, basically, yes, if you rush towards them, they'll scatter. But in true sense, you are no match for them. So
Right.
yeah, if you see a school of barracuda is like I would say it's a mini shark. It's that big. If you see a school of barracuda and you rush towards them, then there's no point. They
Mm-hmm.
will attack. They will attack.
So I guess the same logic applies towards approaching the animals, whether it be on land or underwater,
Yeah.
which is to be respectful and also be very cautious without uh, taking anything for granted.
It's actually I would say the major difference between encountering land animals and underwater is land animals are generally lesser in number when you see them. Uh,
Mm.
I see it. I went to Ranthambore 2 years back. To spot a tiger there is a very, very difficult task. So once you spot a tiger, there's only one tiger sitting there. But when you go underwater to a coral reef, there are a lot of fish. There's a lot
Right.
of population there, and you see a lot of stuff there. And you can be up close with the fish provided you are respecting them. So that's another
Mm.
one of the lessons which I learned the hard way. In the first 3 years, is when you are diving and you have nothing in your hands, and your hand should always be like this.
Right.
So you should always cross your arms like this, and then you should, because these are not, hands are not required for diving at all, except for holding onto a rope or adjusting your equipment.
Operating your camera.
Yeah, obviously. The only thing
I
required is
understand.
feet, pins.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Coming upon that, operating the camera point, how do you operate it? And is there a specific set of controls that you look for when you're operating a camera, or in that case, your choice for the camera? How, or rather, how the underwater scenario has made you choose a camera? So, what are the, or rather, what I'm trying to say is, how helpful is your camera system, or easy is your camera system to be operated underwater? And how do you go about by changing the settings, because it's all underwater and behind the case and everything, right? So how easy do you find it?
Um, so when I was making the move from Sea Life to Olympus, I was looking for an easier camera, but an advanced system. So at that point of time, the director of the dive school, whom I'm very close friends with, and who is himself a very advanced underwater photographer, he suggested to me that Olympus is really good, and if you are willing to make the jump, take the advanced version of it and use it with the proper equipment. So the cover which comes along with it to cover up the camera as well as the external lights. So when you assemble the whole thing, it looks like an octopus. The lights coming out like this, strobes. That's what they're called, external strobes. And but it is basically it is just exactly like shooting wildlife out on the land, but even more difficult because your breathing is not normal. You're
Right.
through an apparatus, you are underwater, you're under severe pressure, and I think the maximum I have been is about 36 meters now. Meters deep, yes. So it ranges between 25 to 36 meters. So handling the camera, yes, it's difficult. For the first 20-25 dives, I was out of places everywhere, and I could not take the camera in my hands and then go down slowly or ascend slowly. It was quite difficult, but it takes some time to get adjusted to.
Right.
So this camera, the Olympus camera, and I had taken the Nauticam housing. Everything was assembled, and then it was shipped to my address, and I started using it in 2015. So these images which you are seeing right now are all from that camera.
Got it.
And yeah, so it is difficult. It is, I would say, it's quite tough because handling that big weight and your hands are not free anymore.
Right.
So you can't touch anything. You can't. If you want to handle something, you have to let go of one hand, adjust whatever you want to adjust in your equipment, and then come back and hold it. There are ways and means of doing it, like taking a buckle and then attaching it to your hand, and your hands are free. All that is there, but I learned it over the course of 3-4 years.
Right.
So
I mean, one thing that characteristically stands out on all underwater shots and even yours is the incredible diverse colors that we see. Like, for example, this image, the image after this. I mean, it's a set of colors that are so very vibrant. And I guess it's very important for your camera point of view also to have a very good dynamic range to capture all these colors, right?
Yes.
Also you will have uneven light that would be spread across the ocean shore or underwater. So you need to have good noise performance, good color rendition, dynamic range. I think all these things have to be a solid package woven into a camera that is reliable.
Yes, yes. In fact, on this photo, I must have spent about 2-3 minutes, and 2-3 minutes in underwater terms is almost a couple of hours.
Right.
I must have clicked about 20 to 25 photos of this particular scene here. Like the fish from the top left corner making a semicircle like this.
Right.
So yeah, it takes some effort. Yes.
Did you use flash on this? Just a curious thing, because I want to know how you light up these kind of images. Was flash used?
Yeah, the external flash.
Okay. So talking about
a torch.
okay.
Are only I prefer using a torch only for macro, because macro, what happens is you need to adjust the strobes on top of the creature, so it doesn't work always, and especially during night dives you need a torch mandatorily.
Right.
So yeah, the torch works only, I would say torch works only in macro. Otherwise, all these images, external strobes, external flashlights have been used.
Right. In overall of the context of the exhibit, I think this is one of my favorite images, Chaos Theory. I just love it for the colors and the life that it showcases in this particular image. You have bright, vibrant oranges, green, blue, yellow. All the primary colors are covered in this one image, and there is so much life happening in this. But I also wanted to ask, what is your favorite image from the images that you've exhibited here? And if you can tell a small behind the scenes story for us to appreciate in the exhibit, that will be very helpful as well.
Sure. I do not have one favorite image and favorite image, but I'll pick two. So
I can go to that image.
One, the Morail one, the first one.
This is your favorite? Okay.
There are two.
This is the first.
This is going to take a very short time. So what is it? This is basically a moray eel. So it's, I think, about 6.5 to 7 feet in length. Now what happens here? This is where it stays. It's a big bowl, and if you can see slightly, it goes on all the way to the bottom. Now the interesting part about this is this was taken in a shipwreck, which is about 30 kilometers from Colombo. And the very interesting part about this is this bowl is not a bowl. It is a toilet, Western toilet.
Okay.
So I have dived, Sheila, I have dived in Colombo twice, in 2015 and 2017. In 2015, when I had visited, this toilet bowl was a attraction for all the divers who for photo purposes, they used to go and sit there on top of the toilet bowl, and someone would take their photo and they would like brag on social media that I sat on a toilet underwater. So it was very funny, and it is very interesting thing. And the shipwreck's name is the toilet barge. So
because of the bowl.
Yeah. So because the toilet is so prominent on top of the shipwreck, that's why they call it the toilet barge. So in 2015, I had gone there, and the divers were happy sitting on top of the toilet and busy taking photos. In 2017, when I returned to this barge, this great creature, Mr. Moray eel, is poking out of there. So unfortunately, nobody can sit on the toilet bowl there. So yeah, and moray eels are known for their bite, one bite, and it can send you into shock. So
yeah, I know, it looks quite vicious. It looks quite a little scary in that way. But yeah, good to know. I could have never imagined this is a toilet bowl commode. It was peeping out of. It looked man-made. That was something, but not definitely something which is a toilet bowl.
Actually, there were corals on top of the toilet bowl and surrounding and everything. So now they have gotten bleached a little bit, but yeah, that whole shipwreck is residence.
Right. Good, interesting point that you mentioned about the bleaching of corals. So how much have you seen these corals degrade over the years thanks to the human activity in and around? Have you been documenting the change in the habitats?
So in Sri Lanka, not so much because I've visited there twice and I don't see any massive changes. But yes, in Indonesia, where I've dived once in marine national park called Komodo, named after the Komodo dragon.
Right.
So there, yes, there is evidence of bleaching there. So yeah, so what happens is once the coral area is completely there, once the residence is outgrown, so the fish move from one place to another.
Right.
So what happens is due to the global warming and other various such reasons, the coral area gets bleached, which is the reason why the Great Barrier Reef is slowly disappearing.
Right.
It's a big matter of concern, and my ultimate goal is to visit the Great Barrier Reef and dive there. And it is said that in another 5 years there will not be much of the coral reefs there. So yeah, it's a sad situation, but on the other hand, I would say there are a lot of conservation efforts as well. So Komodo National Park was closed for quite a while, so that they could save the coral reefs. And the school, the dive center where I learned, they are also heavy into conservation, and they do a lot of projects along with the government of India to protect the coral reefs and educate fishermen and villagers about how to take care of the fish, how to take care of the oceans, and especially not to throw any kind of garbage into the oceans. Plastic, especially.
Right. Yeah, glass can be quite difficult to spot as well. Yeah. So moving back to your favorite image, which is the other one that you want to talk about?
The one on the left with the shipwreck front.
Shipwreck, yeah.
So this one was, I'd like to thank Olympus for giving me an award for this one. This was the best travel photograph of the year 2020.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, so this was the MV Sierra shipwreck in Colombo again. The diver who is almost on top of the wreck is my dive guide. So this was the frontal part of the wreck, and this was the first dive I had after purchasing the Olympus and other equipment.
Okay.
The first dive after this. So it sometimes you just feel lucky, and sometimes you just get lucky and click a good shot.
Right.
So and the interesting part about this shipwreck is some of the structures are poking outside the water. So after in between two dives, when you're taking a break at the surface of the water, you can just hang around the superstructures and in the boat and take photographs and stuff. So it's not fully sunk. So the seabed is quite it's quite close, but this was an amazing dive. Lesser life, but the ship is in absolute pristine condition, and it just sank in 2009. So this like 10 years now.
10 years back, yeah.
So this
interesting.
I would say are my best photos, best of the best.
Wonderful. Actually, to be very honest, I like these as well. The coral images, all these three, the set of these three images, soft corals, beautiful colors again, as I said, the structure, the life that is happening, and the details that you have, even in these foreground images, they look really nice and very vibrant. And same thing in this as well, walk in the park, as you call it. And it definitely is. This is not the toilet bowl, is it? This is somewhere else.
Oh, this is some other one.
Okay. Now all coral structures that I see on man-made structures seem to be like a toilet bowl.
These are all shipwrecks, but see, majority of these photographs I have displayed are in Colombo only.
Got it.
Yeah, except for 2 or 3 which are from the Philippines.
Got it. Got it.
Especially the one with the mantis shrimp, that is in Philippines.
Okay. 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 Well, thank you so very much, Kushal. It's been really wonderful speaking to you and going deep dive down. Any closing words on how people who are passionate about diving underwater should approach this field? And I also have one Mrs. Sindoor Rao who's raised her hand. I'm not sure, ma'am. Are you looking to ask a question to Kushal? You can unmute. I'll unmute Sindhu Rao as well. Ma'am, can you hear us? Oh, she's speaking.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, meantime, you can.
Hello, it was just my mistake. I did not know what it meant. I'm sorry.
Okay. Not a problem, madam. Nice to have you on.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope it was a good
It was
session.
very interesting. Very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Kushal, anybody else who has a question, please feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand.
Yeah, I would like to.
Okay. So, Kushal, anything else that you want to close the session with? Any pointers?
Yeah, you asked a question about new budding divers. So I have only two suggestions for any divers willing to get into underwater photography. First thing is just be calm and breathe. That's the first tip I will give to any diver who wants to get into diving. Be calm and breathe. That's the only solution, I would say. Rest all will come on its own once you be calm and breathe. Second is always respect. Always respect. I'll keep repeating always, because you need to respect whosoever you are photographing. If you want them to, come into your focus, then you need to respect them.
Right.
And just go and attack a clownfish like this. So you need to go slowly towards them.
Got it.
When they get adjusted to you.
Right.
The water photography is very interesting. So I would also, one more suggestion I would like to give is always start small. Don't go like a big bang and buy extraordinary cameras and housing and lights, and so that's not the requirement. You can start with a basic GoPro, and then you can add on some lights, and if you want to take it to the next level, you're confident enough, then you can definitely invest into a advanced camera system.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Take it in small steps.
Yes.
Right. So, well, that was a very delightful session, Kushal, and I must thank.
Ashna,
Yes.
Yeah. Hi. Sorry, I wanted to ask a question.
Sure. Who's this?
Hi, this is Rahul.
Hi, Rahul. Yes.
Hi, Rahul.
Kushal. Hi. Fantastic images, man. One question: when you're photographing using flashes underwater, what sort of focal length do you generally shoot at? I assume the light can travel a long distance, but how the water has to be really clear for you to be able to shoot in the distance, isn't it?
So at any given point of time, to use those okay, I'm not very much technical while shooting pictures underwater, but I would say there is a distance of about 1 to 2 feet. I would say 1 feet, 1 to 2 feet between me and the subject.
Okay.
So obviously in those, if you have seen the photograph of like chaos theory or walk in the park, I was about like in this I may be 1.5 feet away from this whole thing, and wide angle, and this is a wide angle lens, so since it covers the bigger area.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need to be closer to the subject.
Right. Thank you.
So frankly, I don't know what focal length I use, and I'm not that much technical like all of you guys. So So yeah, so that's
What lens? I missed when you were talking about the lens. What lens do you use?
so wide angle is 8 mm fisheye.
Okay.
Macro is I think 60 mm. Yes, and I have a general lens as well, but I don't use the general lens much.
Right.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rahul. Anybody else has a question? You can quickly shoot it. Else, I think we can call it a day.
Harsha, there is one question in the chat, I think.
Okay, let me just see that. Yeah, that's come up.
Or maybe that's
No, it was just a comment by Shashi Rao. Yes. Is it necessary to know swimming to be a diver? Kushal from Shashi Rao.
If you wish to take a diving certification, yes, basic swimming skills are necessary, mandatory. In fact, you would have to swim for at least about, I think there is some time limit, I think 3 or 4 minutes or 5 minutes continuously. So yeah, that's mandatory. If you are just looking to dive for just discover scuba diving, just going down for one single dive for about 20 minutes, then it is not necessary because the guide will take you down slowly.
Got it.
And if the question is to become a diver photographer, yes, definitely swimming is required.
Nice. Well, thank you for that. And I'm guessing there are no more questions that are coming through. If that's the case, then Rahul, Kushal, thank you very much. And it's been a very nice session. I hope everybody enjoyed it as well. And we should be more cautious when we are around water bodies, which doesn't necessarily need to be told. Guessing everybody has to have that built in them. But whatever said and done, once we see these beautiful sights, that's when we'll start to realize how important it is to safeguard our environment, whether it can be seen or even those environments which can't be seen. The beauty of these kind of images are, it shows those unseen wonders to us, which makes us realize how important it is to save them. And I think you've done a great job in that Kushal, by showing us some really beautiful and colorful images. And also it was a very nice session where I got to learn about underwater photography too. So thank you very much. And thanks to everyone for joining us today. And we have more sessions that are coming up on the same Zoom ID on the Zoom channel. So we will keep putting it up on either our Instagram handles or on social media. So if you haven't already followed us, please do follow us up, look us up on Instagram under ImageIn or ArtBuRt's. You can look us up either ways to be updated about the upcoming talks. The next talk that is due is on Wednesday, and that time we will be talking more on wildlife and landscape images, as well as the second part of this discussion, which is with air, where we talk to Venkat to review his aeroplane images. And I know it is quite a contradiction, aeroplanes with fishes, but let's see how it all matches up. And it is the exhibit of air and water that we're signing off today. Thank you once again, Kushal. Nice to have.
Yeah, thanks to Harsha for setting this up, and it was a genuine pleasure speaking to you. And I truly hope that you will come with me in my next diving trip to shoot some pictures of the water.
Definitely, but one secret, I don't know swimming.
That's okay. It's quite easy, don't worry.
Yeah, you'll have to first teach me swimming.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, all right then. Thanks everyone. Bye. Have a nice day.